Today we're talking about the 2002 film Road to Perdition. It was directed by Sam Mendes. I definitely am in my Jude Law arc. We had Gattaca, now this. Sam Mendes is a director I do really like. I've never seen American Beauty, but I don't really want to anymore. You know, Kevin Spacey, whatever. And then 1917, which I thought was awesome. I really, really liked 1917. Like, the craftsmanship, the cinematography, and that was great. Skyfall, that or Casino Royale is my favorite James Bond. I think Jarhead was a really great movie as well. I really like Jarhead. I'm not a big war movie guy, but that one I'd enjoyed quite a bit. And then Empire Light came out this year. It was nominated for Best Cinematography. I'm blanking if it was nominated for anything else. But, I mean, yeah, that's a common theme in a lot of his films, I think, that the cinematography really does shine. And I think it does as well with Road to Perdition. I think that was one of the glaring things, that the cinematography, it was beautiful. There were a lot of long takes, and it was just very clearly well crafted. But I think my issue with this film, even though it looks really nice, it feels very Hollywood DreamWorks, which is what it is. And a movie like this, I might want it to be like more grimy, more dirty, and just like people to be more sleazy. But it does feel very like theatrical in kind of the similar way that some of Spielberg's movie feel. I think you could get the sense watching the trailer that the music and like the drama of like the father-son bonding and everything, I don't know, there's just this certain je ne sais quoi that I'm unable to like exactly pinpoint with movies like this, and specifically The Fabelmans that I had a few issues with. But it's a movie with very serious tones, but it feels very theatrical at the same time. And maybe it's Tom Hanks, because it's Tom Hanks trying to act tough, which is like, all right, Tom, we all love you, but like, you know, whatever. But overall, when I went into this movie, I knew it was Sam Mendes. I knew it was Tom Hanks. I didn't know how stacked of a cast this was. I mean, we got Tom Hanks, we got Paul Newman, who was incredible. Love the guy, Paul Newman. His best role, I mean, is clearly in Cars. We all knew that. But no, I really love Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. That's probably my favorite Western, that or Unforgiven. Jude Law, of course. I thought his character, he just plays like a creepy weirdo. I mean, yeah, you have this. You have Gattaca. You have Existenz, which was crazy. Yeah. I'm liking him more and more. As you said, I'm on my Jude Law arc. Daniel Craig, who kind of plays like a weirdo in this one as well, the off-the-rails son to Paul Newman. Stanley Tucci, Jennifer Jason Leigh, who really didn't get a time to shine. It really was a sausage fest. It was just the leading men, you know. It's all about fathers and sons and their legacies and everything. Then you have Kieran Hines as well, who is in Belfast. And I mean, honestly, he's been in quite a few things. Wow, I didn't know he was in that many things. Good for him. He's great. I love him. And then anybody else notable, really? Not really that I can see down here. But, I mean, yeah, pretty star-studded cast up front. And then, of course, the son, who's played by Tyler Hoechlin, who is a Teen Wolf actor. And, I mean, he had a good role as a child, and then he hasn't really been in too much since. Palm Springs I've seen, and I really like, and I honestly don't remember what his role was. But, yeah, Road to Perdition. Like I said initially, that I do think some of the theatricalness took away from someone like, you know, if I want a mom movie, I want like a grimy, dirty, people just being the absolute scum of the earth. Yeah, like I said, the way it was shot was so polished. It was so nice. It was so clean. And that, I'll compare it to like some of the more recent Star Wars shows. Excluding Andor. I think Andor was great. But I think I always like my analogies with Star Wars, because, I mean, that's clearly the IP that I relate most to. But I had problems for a long time that I expressed to people about the Mandalorian, about the Boba Fett show, and about Obi-Wan. How I feel like I could choreograph every single shot that's going to happen to a scene. So you're going to have you're going to have like the space shot panned down to a planet. You're going to have the wide shot of this like village that they're in, you know, the isolated village that's unique for some reason. And then you're going to have like the tracking shot of like walking through the town square. Oh, look, weird alien creature. And it feels like everything's so polished. And with the Star Wars stuff, I think a lot of it has to do with like the technology and with that weird like cycloramic screen that projects all the backgrounds. But with a movie like this, I feel like it relates to it because Star Wars, a lot of those places that they're going in are supposed to be like impoverished. They're supposed to be, unique, dirty areas of the galaxy, but it feels so sleek and so clean. And I feel like this movie kind of had a bit of that as well because it was so cleanly shot. And I feel like, yeah, sometimes when you're making a movie like this, the cinematography, you can make it beautiful, but like sometimes I just want me some grimy, I relate a lot to like Cure, one of my favorite Japanese movie, or Angel Dust, which is very similar. How it's just very it's dirtier, it's grimier, it's hard to make things out a bit sometimes, but yeah, I don't know. Just a small thing, honestly, that I've just completely elaborated on because the movie itself, again, like I said, it is beautiful and it works with the noir aspect. The black and whites are often really poignant and really nice to look at. Overall, just going on the different, like Alien, who it's on a grimy cargo spaceship full of working. Yeah, exactly. Alien. And I think some of the new Alien movies lost that charm because, yeah, the original Alien was so, it was very grimy. It was like you're in these nooks and crannies of the spaceship. And then with like Alien Covenant, you're going to this new planet and it's like, it's very much, I don't know, it's more sleek. And I don't know, it's hard to define, but you can definitely tell with the camera work sometimes where it just like, it's honestly, I am talking about it a lot. It's not a huge flaw. It's just something that I wish was slightly, more grimy, more dirty, because I think that would have enhanced the experience a bit more. But again, I've just talked a lot about the cinematography, but for this movie specifically, I think that the story is really, really well done in a way that it's a story about relationships within the mob, about a father and son, like it really hammered in that trailer there. And kind of the mob, the crime scene is like the background. Because the story itself isn't very complicated. The story itself is just like, a son witnesses his father doing a crime. And then the mob is like, all right, we got to tie up this loose end, and then tries to kill him. But then he gets revenge on all of them. But I think the fun of this movie is, honestly, Tom Hanks kind of carries with his relationship with his son and trying to show him the ropes and everything. And I think, honestly, the best scenes were with Tom Hanks and Paul Newman because you could get a sense of that, that relationship that they had, even though he's not his maternal son. And then, because Paul Newman, he has to take a side just because of his blood, because Daniel Craig is the one who went out and murdered Tom Hanks' family, but he has to take his son's side because it's his son, it's his blood. But you really get the sense that Tom Hanks is like the son that he wish he had, but they're not blood related, so he has to go about this sideways and kind of screw him over. And I think that the way the story is built, there were a few areas of kind of lightheartedness or convenience. Just a few moments of like him looking in and seeing the crime. I don't know. It was like, okay, kid, like, why are you doing this? I get you're curious about your dad's job, but it's like, he just took like the littlest caution possible. He gets out of the car, runs to the crime scene. He doesn't I was in my head thinking like, okay, now you got to go back to the car in time. You like, don't want to let them see you. It's like, please just wait in the car like a bit longer. You'll be completely safe. You'll be fine, whatever. But no, he's just a dumbass kid and just gets himself caught and then just like cowers beside a wall and gets caught. And then there were a few moments later where it's like, when he's teaching his son to drive, like inherently, I think it was really fun to go on that chase or that crime spree where they're like just robbing a bunch of places, which again felt very easy for them, very convenient. But the like montage of him teaching how to drive felt very like DreamWorks Disney, like didn't really have a huge place in this movie. That's like a scene that you would, again, it's like a Cars scene, It's like, oh, we're going to do this. This race, we got to go practice. Here's a montage of that. And then we get, again, to the crime, and then the crime. This is a crime movie. No, them robbing a bunch of the banks that are associated with the mobs felt very easy. And at the time when he was doing it, it's like, his motivation is like, yes, he wants to kind of like take down the mob single-handedly. But did robbing all of those banks really have much of effect on figuring all this out? Because the thing that actually led to the downfall was like he went to one of that other higher up guys who like kept all like the bank notices and whatever, and revealed that Daniel Craig, Paul Newman's son, was secretly stealing money from him. And so he gets that, and that was a big piece of evidence. And then he goes and meets with Paul Newman under a church and shows him it. And then Paul Newman's like, yes, I knew this whole time, but I'm just doing what I have to do. We're all horrible people. And that was the best scene in the whole movie, honestly, when he confronts him under the church. And they have this face-to-face where it's like, we're all going to hell, and if I'm going to die, I'd rather it be from you. And then, yeah, I thought that those like 10 minutes in the movie where he confronts him there, and then Tom Hanks, he leaves his son, he leaves him a note, and he's like, I gotta go do one last thing. And he just guns them all down in the rain. That was awesome. I loved that. Completely loved that. But just getting to that point, it felt a bit like in that middle area, it's like, what is going on here? Like, you're robbing banks. For what reason? You're teaching your son how to drive. The scene in the diner with Jude Law was fun. Jude Law was a fun character. I think that in the very end, I would love to find a picture of that. Jude Law at the very end, because at kind of like the 3/4 mark in the movie, he gets shotgunned, like, I think it was through a wall he got shotgunned, or maybe like indirectly. And then he comes back at the very end and his face is just like all stitched up. This look was awesome. This look was so like quirky Jude Law, and I love it. It does look a bit ridiculous for a movie that's trying to be down to earth, but I love it. And his character was just like a fun side piece to the entire movie. He goes in and he takes pictures of the dead bodies, and sometimes if they're not completely dead, he'll just, finish off the job. He just has a fetish with the death of people. I have nothing wrong to say about his character. Not just because he's Jude Law. Definitely not. No. No way. And it's like, again, I don't know if he 100% needed to be in the movie in the first place. It did give a nice, like, finishing blow at the end of the movie where, Tom Hanks' son couldn't pull the trigger. He had to do it for him. He was the last boss to defeat, even though he's not, like, the big bad guy. When he was introduced and Paul Newman or Daniel Craig was hiring him to do the job, it's like, yeah, it provided a bit of tension. Again, the middle act is my biggest iffiness with this whole movie because it's like, what's going on here? He he gets them in the diner, but then Tom Hanks gets away. It was a fun scene. And then they go rob a bunch of banks. He's kind of on their tails. He's in that one scene where he gets that information on Daniel Craig's character. He gets shot in the face. I don't know. He felt like a side character to the whole thing, but I liked his character. Didn't know if it was needed, but I'm kind of happy it was there. Not narrative-wise, just for my personal pleasure of seeing a funny Jude Law character. Yeah, that's all I'll say about that's all I'll say about that. But what else do I have to say about this movie? I think I went over the major things that I had gripes with and a lot of the things that I liked. And overall, it was just a very enjoyable mob movie. It's the type of movie where it's like it's a unique story. It's a standalone story made by like a very crafty director, which is like exactly what I want right now in the cinema landscape, which we just aren't having a lot of. And I just appreciate these like early 2000s, late 90s movies like this, where it's just, standalone. Might be a bit Oscar baity, but like it's just, a fun story that I feel like, in that era, late 90s, early 2000s, this would be the type of movie to like make a lot of money. Like a drama with some star-studded cast, with some, a bit theatrical, like, style to it. Very, like, again, Spielbergian. I feel like I'm relating theatrical and Spielbergian. They're almost synonyms now. But I thought it was a refreshing movie. I really enjoyed watching it. Straightforward, not one of those weird experimental movies I've been watched recently, like A Field in England or something like that. But, it was a good palate cleanser. I liked it a lot. I love me some crime movies that are done well.